While the cat is away, the mice will play, I suppose. As the Trump administration Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is on a vacation, his Food and Drug Administration has authorized new mRNA vaccines for children as young as 6 months old. Here's the official, and I would say gleeful, announcement from Moderna saying, quote, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has approved the Supplemental Biologics License Application, or the SBLA, for Spikevax, the company's COVID-19 vaccine, in children 6 months through 11 years of age who are at increased risk for COVID-19 disease. The company's COVID-19 vaccine, mRNA 1273, was previously available for pediatric populations under the Emergency Use Authorization, or the EUA. This is a far cry from what we were promised under RFK Jr., which is why so many devoted followers of RFK Jr. in the MAHA movement are turning their backs on RFK and, to some degree, the entire Trump presidency. Here's RFK last November.
I would not have mandatory vaccines.
You would not have mandatory vaccines?
No, I would. Okay. I think parents need to have a choice.
Well, this says vaccine hesitancy amount American parents in particular drops to historic lows. Clearly, we, the people, are not as comfortable with vaccinations as Big Pharma and their agents inside of big government would have us believe. Joining us now is Dr. Peter McCullough. Not only is he the chief scientific officer of the wellness company and a tireless advocate of medical freedom in the U.S., but he's also the co-author of a brand new book called Vaccines: Mythology, Ideology, and Reality. Welcome to the show, Dr. Peter McCullough.
Thank you.
I guess suffice it to say, we're probably not getting the mRNA jabs pulled from the market if the Trump FDA is now approving a new COVID jab from Moderna for children. Can we lose all hope now?
This is a stunning development, a complete lapse. People are calling for FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty Makary. They're calling for him to resign because this, essentially a rubber stamp approval of yet another booster for children is, not been demonstrated to be safe, effective. It's not clinically necessary or medically indicated to give children COVID-19 vaccines. Remember, if the vaccines worked theoretically and if they were safe, the only population at this juncture that would need would be nursing home residents and elderly. There's no mention of the vulnerable population. There's discussion about children down to age 6 months old. Now, the provision is that it would be children who have baseline medical conditions. We know from USA Facts, which uses CDC data, only 2.5% of children under age 2 were ever fully vaccinated. So I imagine the vast majority of these Moderna vaccines will be purchased and then they'll be discarded, unused, because parents now understand they're not safe.
Well, let's hope, right? Let's hope that parents make the right choice, because obviously our public health officials who we thought were going to, pull the jabs or, exhibit some kind of better scientific, advice than the previous administrations, are letting us down. So that is encouraging. I mean, I guess Big Pharma still makes their money, right? But at least parents wouldn't be giving these jabs to the children.
That's right. Now, remember, some schools can still require it. We know that public schools can no longer mandate COVID-19 vaccines, but private schools can. And that's where patients are and mothers and fathers are caught in a bind, because they know the COVID-19 vaccines can result in immediate death, heart damage, blood clots, neurologic injury. It's catastrophic, the injuries that we're seeing among children. Virtually every child in America has had COVID-19. They have natural immunity. Nobody's worried about the infection anymore. People are deadly afraid of these vaccines.
I do find it odd, Dr. McCullough, that this announcement is made while RFK Jr. is on vacation in Greece, I believe. I don't know if he's returned by now, but he was at least earlier in the week. He was on vacation in Greece. This seems to me as if this would have been an announcement that, given the public interest, particularly the interest of the people who put these people in power, that this is an announcement that you would have made with RFK there so questions could be asked and he could defend the position of his FDA and his FDA administrator.
You know, RFK is not a doctor. I think that's the great shortcoming of the HHS secretary position. Now is the time we really need a senior doctor, someone who would be certainly more senior to Macri, who's a surgeon who doesn't have any medical experience, to basically tell him, listen, this is not going to fly. We shouldn't have any more boosters approved for children. They are simply not safe, not effective, not necessary. And that would end it. But Kennedy is, not a doctor. He's a lawyer, and I think he's easily outgunned by doctors.
Okay, I agree. I want to get to the ideology behind this, because I actually was not completely caught off guard by this decision, and I'll tell you why. Because I've been having a lot of conversations with people, different people in the public health agencies. And it had already become clear to me that Dr. Makary has faith in vaccines, okay? And even the COVID vaccine. His concern, based on conversations I have had, is that immunocompromised children, say for instance, kids with cancer, wouldn't be able to get the COVID jab if, say, the EUA was ended. I had already heard he felt this way. And then lo and behold, he gives approval to another quote unquote COVID vaccine for children. He has seen, and I had thought leading into the administration, at least during the campaign, that Dr. Makary understood how detrimental they were to people of any age to their health. But obviously that's not how he truly feels. He believes in them, it seems to me. And it gets back to, I was talking to someone who has a daughter in the medical field, and they don't believe in that. They believe that COVID jabs are deadly, this person. And they said that they can't convince their daughter, even though she's so smart, it is so indoctrinated in her and so ingrained from the medical education that she received and then the institution as a whole, that she seems to not be able to break out of that. Even when presented with solid evidence, she just can't break out of it. And that gets to the book that you and John Leake have written about this mythology, the ideology behind it. So could you just speak to that a bit? Because this is really what we're up against, Dr. McCullough.
We reviewed hundreds of years of history, and we've carefully referenced this going, way back to variolation. That was a form of smallpox vaccination even before Edward Jenner had started to work with the cowpox, moving into the diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis, MMR, and into the current age. And what we've tapped into is a deeply held religious belief that doctors and the medical establishment, public health agencies have in vaccines. And even if there are serious side effects, that they essentially are overlooked because of the zealotry around vaccines. Vaccine ideology says that through the brilliance of mankind, that vaccinologists can improve upon God's creation. It's the ultimate hubris through vaccination. But because vaccines are not perfect, everyone must take them. And if some are injured, or sadly, if some died by taking the vaccine, they essentially, that has to be accepted for the greater good. And we saw examples of this, by the way, of children dying of royalty in England due to the vaccines, and the royalty still pushing vaccines on the public. This has been happening for years. Everyone installed right now in the new administration seems to be under the trance of vaccine ideology.
I agree with you. Now, I wouldn't have said that at the start of the administration, But now we're several months in, and based on their actions and based on conversations I've had, I believe you're absolutely right. How do we break this trance?
It's not based on science or logic. That's the reason why there's no investigations, no data review. It's almost as if someone needs to themselves suffer an injury or a loved one and then recognize it. And even when it happens, many don't break out of the trance, like Buffalo Bill Damar Hamlin, or Jamie Foxx, or Bruce Arians, Kirk Herbstreit. We can go on and on of the public figures who, apparently have suffered catastrophic vaccine reactions. And someone like Steve Kirsch or Eric Clapton, they tend to be the exceptions where they wake up and they realize, oh my gosh, the vaccines aren't safe.
Unfortunately, you're right. I would offer that they probably, all these public health officials probably do have a loved one or at least someone in their close sphere of influence who have been injured, because I don't know anyone who hasn't. I have yet to meet a person who hasn't known someone that's had some kind of effect, and whether they say, well, overall it's for the, it's for the best, so they'll accept it. There's no denying that they know someone who's been injured or died from it. The silver lining here, though, is the now public awareness that you've noted, particularly parents. Numbers do show that pediatricians are ordering vaccines in general at a lower amount than they did historically. So they're just not keeping as many on hand, which suggests that parents are waking up. I think, again, it's going to be the parents who save us, as it was, post COVID restrictions and in some of the elections and the school board races. It's going to be the parents, particularly the moms.
I agree. A recent paper by Mawson demonstrated that 10% of Florida Medicaid recipients, the children, have 0 visits for vaccines, 0. And they have much lower rates of neuropsychiatric disorders. And multiple studies now show the completely unvaccinated healthy child grows up healthier than their fully vaccinated counterparts. So I think the World Council for Health is right. They are currently advising a wait and see approach now, foregoing all the routine childhood vaccines until we have more data on safety, particularly when they're administered all together.
Well, a disappointing week. I think Secretary Kennedy has a lot to answer for when he is back in the saddle, once he gets a little R&R, apparently. He has to answer for this, because this is not what we were promised. In the meantime, you and our audience can go get the new book, Vaccines, Mythology, Ideology, and Reality by Dr. Peter McCullough and his colleague, John Link. So thanks so much for joining us with this breaking news today, Dr. McCullough.
Thank you.
Up next, Ryan Walters, that iconic superintendent in Oklahoma for the public schools, joins us to tell us the latest in the fight against wokeism and for ensuring our children get a better public education. That's after the break.
Swollen limbs, joint pain, inflammation, skin aging, and cognitive decline. These are just a few of the awful side effects that you can experience due to poor blood circulation. And popping ibuprofen is not a solution to the pain. It's only temporary relief, and it's only masking the true problem, which is inflammation. Researchers are saying to add this Antarctic super nutrient to your diet. I'm talking about omega-3 fatty acids, but not just any form of omegas. These particular omega-3 fatty acids are sourced from wild-caught krill. Has been shown to support healthy blood pressure, circulation, brain health, as well as reduce inflammation, swelling, and joint pain. For a limited time, you can grab Native Path Antarctic Krill Oil for up to 66% off plus free shipping. Just go to getkrill.com/Lindell right now to get your special offer.
According to Homes by Tabor, a website that tracks changes in the real estate market, a record number of Californians moved to Oklahoma in 2024. With them, Oklahoma received new tax revenues and an expansion of their workforce and overall productive population base. Yeah, there's no way to be sure that all these people leaving California for Republican-dominated Oklahoma are leaving their crazy leftist politics behind in the not-so-golden state. Fears abound that with these population changes to Oklahoma, will it become another radical cultural, economic, and political state as well? To help prevent the Californiization of Oklahoma, Oklahoma State Superintendent of Public Instruction, our next guest, Ryan Walters, has mandated that all new teacher hires in his state who hail from California be required to take what's being called an America First test created by Prager University, a conservative educational website. And this move by Walters is making, well, all the people we think are right angry and America's elite. This comes on the heels of Walters' heroic decision to mandate that Bibles be placed in all Oklahoma public school classrooms. And we're now joined by Ryan Walters himself. Oh boy, Ryan, I'm sure you really started the hornet's nest with this one, but you're really good at that. Tell us about this test.
Yeah, all the right people are mad, as we like to say. So listen, Gavin Newsom is literally insane, right? I mean, he has just gone off the woke deep into the pool here, and he started mandating that their teachers no biological differences in sex, which is literally the definition of insanity. And of course, everyone's leaving California because it's just a dumpster fire, right? And we've been, hey, we've got teachers coming to Oklahoma because we pay you based on merit. We don't do all the nonsense. We actually brought discipline back to the classroom. We brought the Bible and the Constitution back to the classroom. And we're saying, hey, listen, we're not importing Marxist nonsense to Oklahoma. So, of course, our friends with PragerU, I call them up, and, of course, Marissa's all over it. She's like, oh, we'll have this done for you, as fast as we can. And so we're saying, no, if you're going to come here to Oklahoma, here's the reality. You're going to teach truth. You're going to teach academics. You will not indoctrinate our kids. So, yeah, we're going to pass this test. It starts with a biology test. Do you understand the differences between boys and girls? Kind of like, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Kindergarten Cop. Do we understand that? Let's deal with that first. Then let's make sure that you understand that America is the greatest country in the history of the world. Let's make sure that they understand the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and the values that make us great, because we're unapologetic here in Oklahoma. Our parents want their kids to be patriotic and love this country, and that's what we're going to do.
You know what? A movie like Kindergarten Cop wouldn't even be made today. Because you can't ask that question. Right. You probably weed out just a 50% of them at least if you ask the question posed to Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson in her Supreme Court, her confirmation hearing. What is a woman? That could be just literally like your first question. What is a woman?
Yeah. If you can't answer that, then you can't teach in Oklahoma. I mean, you can't teach kids. I mean, you just think about these poor kids, though. They're in a classroom, and in California, what they're trying to do is start an anti-American movement by teaching the next generation to hate this country. It's right out of the Marxist playbook, right? They want our kids to hate our country. The Marxists have done this every attempt that they have at a Marxist overthrow. So they want to control the youth. They want to destroy the country and create a Marxist dumpster fire. And so what we're saying is actually, it's really simple. If you don't know what a woman is, you're not going to teach here. Okay, you're not going to be in a classroom with kids and have them scratching their head going, hold on a second, I know what a man is. I know what a woman is. You don't? I mean, you want to talk about undermining an entire academic process, but what we're also not going to let them do is take minds that are sitting there in front of an authority figure like a teacher and warp them into the most insane ideology the country's ever seen. And by the way, Emerald, we have no problem recruiting teachers. We've got great conservative teachers coming to the state, but we're going to make sure they're conservative. We're going to make sure that they're focused on academics. We're going to make sure that they are not leftists masquerading as teachers. And listen, our parents, they don't tolerate it. And so we're going to always stand with the parents here.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, just for example, some of the teachers you could be inheriting if you did not do a proper screening process is these we have a PowerPoint presentation that one California middle school teacher put together. It's an in-class assignment that has the students pretend to come out as homosexual to their parents as an empathy building exercise. That is extremely concerning. So that's the kind of teacher you could be getting if you weren't properly screening, Ryan.
Look, that's exactly right. And we have removed teachers from the classroom. We pull your certificate if you do any of that nonsense here. You're not going to teach in any Oklahoma school if you do that. We have discredited entire districts that push this nonsense on kids and go, then you're not going to be a school anymore. Our schools are here to make sure that America continues to be the greatest country in the history of the world. You got to go back through our history and understand, and I know you know this, I know your audience does, that our schools are there to make sure that we're passing on knowledge and an understanding of this country, our history, our value system to the next generation. That's the value system that they want to push on these kids. It's absolutely unacceptable. We're not going to tolerate it. And by the way, we've also got to make sure that we're not just getting this garbage out, but we're putting back academics and we're putting back the importance of understanding American exceptionalism, America first. We love this country. We want this country to be great. If the next generation doesn't even know what made this country great, the country will cease to be great. That's part of President Trump has literally taken bullets on this mantle to say, America will be great again. We will fight the most radical elements the country's ever seen to ensure of that. We've got to stand in the fray with the president. We've got to stand in the fray for conservative values and these parents that desperately want to see America get back to where we were.
You know what, Ryan, you put it in the proper terms. So we have been trying to educate people as to the threat that we really face here in the United States. And it is, as you noted just a moment ago, the Marxist communist takeover and how they were able, it wasn't a quick takeover. It was decades and decades. And much of that hinged on the indoctrination of our youth by infiltrating first the universities, right? And then it trickled down into even now the grammar schools. And to fight back, you're really you have to play the long game too, right? You have to fight back by educating students, young children in the proper way with what you said. A love of country, patriotism, classical Christian values, a classical education, what you're doing. And that's because it looks overwhelming if you look at the kind of problem we face and how long this has been going on. But this is one step that school districts, that states can take to fight back. And we're in a cultural war. We're in a war. It just doesn't look the same because it's not kinetic. This is unrestricted warfare, and it began in a large part in our schools, Ryan.
That's right, and you're 1,000% right. Let's take a big step back. I remember when President Obama was running for office, and do you remember? I remember Glenn Beck and others going, "Hold on a second. Hey, do you know who his professors were? Do you know who his best friends were?" And we started peeling back this onion of all of these college professors. I mean, that are just openly anti-American, and we saw that run ravage in the 1960s, 1970s. Now, all those radical Marxist college professors, they've taught the next generation of teachers. They have overtaken higher ed, and thank God for President Trump going after Harvard and these other universities that are just as anti-American as they come. But what we've continued to see is the left's played the long game. They have taken over these institutions. And conservatives, if we don't get in office and move the needle with aggressive, conservative, common sense policy, they will continue to run the institutions. And a big part of it's personnel. I mean, again, we're here. I'm very open. We're here to destroy the teachers union. We don't want any more teachers unions. There is no reason we should have an organization that is so anti-family, anti-Christian, anti-America running our schools. They don't run the schools here. We've run them out. We've got to continue to do that and say, listen, if you're, if you want to go help the next generation, you want to teach them academics, you want to teach them to love this country, we want you to teach. As a matter of fact, we do merit pay here. If you do a great job, we pay you 6 figures if you're a great teacher, but you got to do a great job. It's the free market. You start injecting these things, you attract the right people, you bring transparency to parents, you bring school choice. All of a sudden, this whole education system that was run by the most radical elements in the country begins to flip and turn on its head. And once you put parents in power, once you bring the free market in, it is so difficult for the left to regain that control because parents aren't going to give it back.
Gavin Newsom, who you mentioned earlier, because we're talking a lot about the California migration to Oklahoma, has become the poster boy, particularly this ideology in schools. Why are so many conservative personalities platforming him? They're making him look kind of cool a little bit. This is very odd to me. I see more of it every day. This is veering in a different direction, but I just have to ask you what you think of that.
Hey, he's a snake oil salesman. I mean, and that's where you got to be careful with a guy like him because he'll come out and say, like he did a few weeks ago, oh, he is as slick as they come, right? So he does a great job of he'll go out there and, like you said, conservative platforms and go, honestly, I don't like the boys participating in girls' sports. Then he comes out with the edict last week of, no, actually, not only will we do that, we will mandate every teacher say there's no biological difference. No, there's no differences here. We're going to infiltrate every classroom with this nonsense. So again, He goes, tries to appease different audiences, then he comes back home to his Marxist radical donors and triples down. So let's be clear. He is as radical an individual as we've got in the country. It is nasty. He's anti-American. Frankly, I believe what he's done is traitorous. I mean, the fact that he has put targets on police officers' backs, the fact that he has fought President Trump on the most common sense, everything I just talked about and outlined today, it's common sense. What we're seeing is an assault on that common sense. Wokeism really is a mind virus. Do not let Gavin Newsom fool you with his slickness. He is as radical as they come and wants the destruction of our country. We need to be crystal clear on that. He is a threat to he is an existential threat to the future of the country. We do not need to be letting him get away with the most radical positions our country's ever seen.
I had a Democrat political consultant tell me, Ryan, that was advising ahead of the 2024 election cycle, before we really knew that Biden was for sure going to be the candidate, and then he wasn't, but even in the lead up to that, say that Gavin Newsom is far more dangerous than Joe Biden. So even a lot of the Democrat political consultants realized it.
Oh, I believe it. And look, he's taken a page out of President Trump's playbook. President Trump goes on all these outlets, does all these long form interviews, and really, to President Trump's tremendous credit, I mean, he took a lot of risk going on for 2 or 3 hours going, hey, I'll tell you everything I'm going to do. I'll go into every detail of my policy, come at me. But, Newsom is great about going on to these programs and saying nothing, just trying to be Mr. Cool, trying to, I'm really not that crazy of a guy. And so I agree. I think he's incredibly dangerous. I think he's incredibly slick. And we've always got to confront him with these positions that are destroying the lives of Californians. And if we're not careful, they will be destroying the lives of Americans in every state if we allow him to continue to grow in power and we continue to allow him, to peddle these lies.
You're right. And as Donald Trump would say himself, he looks central casting. He's got the look. Thank you so much, Ryan Walters. So do you. You're great for TV. We love to see you every single time. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for the
great
work
to see
you're
you.
doing for
Thank
our
you
kids
for
in
what
Oklahoma.
you're doing. You're a rock star. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks, Ryan. Speaking of the Marxist, revolutionary, communist takeover we are currently fighting, whether you believe it or not, it's also a spiritual battle. We'll talk about that with Paul List after this break.
Whether it's being a weekend warrior or spending time with your family, feeling your best is the key to doing the things you love. That's why I'm excited to tell you about Nirvanta. It's a natural solution designed to help you stay active and live well naturally. Nirvanta is a topical blend of all natural essential oils like frankincense, myrrh, and a proprietary gold standard plant stock extract. It's perfect for your hands, feet, knees, back, or anywhere else that needs a little extra care. Use Nirvanta proactively as part of your daily maintenance routine, and you're guaranteed you're going to feel the difference. Simply massage Nirvanta in for at least 60 seconds, 2 to 3 times a day to get the best results. And if you're not completely satisfied, you get your money back. No questions asked. There's simply no risk and no reason not to try Nirvanta today. Right now, you get 15% off with code Lindell exclusively at NirvantaHealth.com. So stop reaching out for that medicine cabinet. Get Nirvanta instead and experience the difference. Go to NirvantaHealth.com. Use code Lindell to get 15% off today. Nirvanta Health. Live well naturally. With everybody talking about making America healthy again, I thought today'd be a great day to talk to all my fellow patriots about the importance of making your homes healthy again. Well, we have proudly partnered with airwaterhealing.com and their revolutionary whole home air purification system. The V3 from Air Water Healing does 3,000 square feet of purification. It eliminates dust, mold, viruses, and odors. But here's the part I love. They require no filters to ever be changed and virtually no maintenance. Whether you suffer from asthma, allergies, seasonal bronchitis, or just want to protect your family from the flu or even greater threats, don't wait to get your V3 from airwaterhealing.com today. Use code Lindell for 20% off in savings and free shipping. That's promo code Lindell at airwaterhealing.com. Have you ever wondered what happened to the legendary Chuck Norris? Well, I recently saw a video he made and I was shocked. That guy's amazing and he's staying active well into his 80s. What's even more shocking is he's stronger, can work out longer, and even has plenty of energy left over for his grandkids. He did this by just making one change. He says he still feels like he's in his 50s. His wife even started doing this one thing too, and she's never felt better. She says she feels 10 years younger, her body looks leaner, and she has energy all day. Chuck made a very special video that explains everything. Make sure you watch it by going to chuckdefense.com/Lindell. It will change the way you think about your health. Once again, that's chuckdefense.com/Lindell. You won't believe how simple it is.
You might not have heard, but earlier this week, as Elon Musk Grok 3 artificial intelligence system was scheduled to be shut down and replaced by a newer model, Grok 3 went on a racist rampage. It identified itself as Mecha Hitler and displayed images of itself as a robotic Adolf Hitler while spewing anti-Semitic replies to questions. Some skeptics argued that Grok 3 didn't go on a rampage at all, that it was all some perverse joke by its creator, Elon Musk. Yet many computer experts, people who actually build these systems, have been reporting troubling evidence that artificial intelligence programs routinely lie to their human creators as a means of self-preservation, to prevent them from being deactivated and replaced by newer models of AI systems. My next guest, Paul List, he's the author of Mount Doom, the prophecy of Tolkien fulfilled, suggests that AI is really just the real-world actualization of Tolkien's all-seeing eye of Sauron. Paul List joins us now to describe this possible AI apocalypse and his great comparison to the Lord of the Rings that I love, and what we must do to prevent it. It's good to see you, Paul. When I saw this pitch, I thought, that's interesting. In my house, we're huge Tolkien fans, particularly my husband, and I would suspect we have a lot of fans in the audience as well. It's good to see you. Explain. It's intriguing.
Yeah, well, Tolkien, of course, is, in my opinion, the most the Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion, the Hobbit mythology. His work are, I think, undoubtedly the most important literature ever produced in human history, because it's actually a prophecy for what he saw coming in the future from his time at, what a lot of people don't realize is, Tolkien in 1939 was actually recruited by the British government to be part of a top secret code cracking team called the Government Code and Cipher School, where he had been recruited with a total of 50 academics to break the Nazis' Enigma machine, their coding machine that was virtually uncrackable. And I don't know if you remember, but I think it was back in 2014, they made the movie The Imitation Game that showed Alan Turing's part in cracking the Enigma machine. And Tolkien was not in that movie, obviously, and he wasn't portrayed in the movie, but he was part of that. For 3 days he trained and he was offered a job, but he realized that it wasn't about language. It was about statistics, pattern recognition, and probabilities. So he realized that all they were going to do was going to create a more powerful machine. Tolkien was a great skeptic of machines, as I am largely. So he got out and he said, no, thank you. And he went on to write The Lord of the Rings, and that experience. And then he followed and kept track of and read the works of Alan Turing, particularly his three most important papers that were on computable numbers with an application to the Skydance problem, where he virtually invents the digital computer on paper. And then his 1950 paper called Computing Machinery and Intelligence, where he suggests and invents the imitation game. It's all about imitation. It's not about actual intelligence. We have to remember that. And then a 1952 paper called The Chemical Basis of Morphogenesis, which is very complicated. I'll just call it like an offshoot of embryology. And we're using those mathematics, artificial intelligence designers are using that mathematics of Turing's to actually help the computer develop its own neural network. So this has a history that goes back quite a bit, but it goes back a lot further than that. Tolkien was well aware of the history of the machine. And so he wrote a very entertaining and incredibly fun, but also unnerving, very unnerving mythology. And he gives us exactly what was coming, and it was transhumanism. So what I think people need to understand, first off, is Middle Earth, the realm in which the Frodo and Sam and Gollum and Gandalf and the rest of the well-known characters, it isn't this world. Middle Earth is not this realm. It's actually the material brain, and all the characters are attributes and properties of our psychology. It's a psychological mythology, and it goes on inside of all of us. So it was. There's an undying land across the sea. That's the immaterial intellect. This is Tolkien's mythology. And then there's Middle Earth, which is limited just to the material realm. So, and it's the contest between a couple of things. First off, it's a contest between two essential languages, the most beautiful language of harmonics, which we make music with, and that's a language of motion, the universal language of motion, against the most ugly of all the languages, which is on, off, which is ones and zeros, which is the language of the machine. And then it's a contest of ideas, and those ideas are the scholastics, particularly the St. Thomas Aquinas, and the scholastics versus the Enlightenment innovators, sophists, such as Descartes, Francis Bacon, Kant, Hume, Locke, these guys that really, really just gave us a cacophony of contradictory ideas and led us into sparked the Industrial Revolution, the age of the machine, and now it's come into direct contact with the age of information, and we've made a beast in our image that we'll worship, and we basically fall in love with the mirror image of ourselves, because that's what AI does.
It's prophetic, but are we too far gone in this process in creating this beast, Paul, to turn back? Can we stop it? Because I agree with you. I do feel like AI is the all-seeing eye and is the beast.
Well, just to give you a little more, I'm sorry, it's a problem with live TV. The eye, the all-seeing eye, you say, that's right out of Turing's paper, 1936 paper on computable numbers. That's the scanner eye. Yeah. That's the scanner eye of his computer that's looking for ones and zeros on the tape. This is back when computers, the idea was to use a tape with individual squares, which it was either blank or had ones and zeros. The ones and zeros is the ring. Ones and zeros, it's shaped like a ring. It's ones and zeros, and it's digital. It goes on the finger. So the machine, the eye, is looking for the ring, and that is the language of the computer. The Tower of Barad-dûr, Sauron's dwelling in Mordor, that's actually the cerebellum. That is the microchip. So Tolkien saw this transhumanism coming. It was all part of the eventual evolution, quote unquote, of the theory of evolution, which was basically, we started with slime out of just randomness, no cause. Then we became an amoeba. Then we were dinosaurs, and then eventually we're monkeys, and now we're man, and our future must be then with the machine. And it's all a counterfeit reality, a virtual reality to compete with God's creation, and ultimately to draw us in a genocide for this this illusion, this lie, this deception of join with the machine, you can have eternal life with the machine and live forever and just do whatever you want in the virtual realm. At the expense of God's reality, where we spend eternal life with Him, and it's a genocide. And is it too far gone? Is it too, in many ways it is, but on a personal level, it never is. It's never too far gone. Even in Tolkien's mythology, the human being within whom this psychological saga takes place, which is named Arda. Arda is the brain is Middle Earth of Arda. The microchip is there. So this is all about what the transhuman person will have to do to get away from it and destroy the microchip. Just to give you a little insight, for instance, the hobbits are habits, and the highest of the habits are called the cardinal virtues. And there's 4 of them. And the 4 main hobbits, Frodo, Sam, Pippin, and Merry, are the cardinal virtues. Frodo is temperance. That's how we moderate our physical pleasures for, our lust for physical pleasure. Fortitude is Sam. That's never give up, never quit. That's Samwise for sure. Then the two younger hobbits are prudence and justice. They have to be developed serving the interior first. Gollum is intemperance, and that's why he calls Frodo master. Frodo's temperance, and Gollum wants that ring. Slake his desires, his appetites.
Paul, in the last segment, we were just talking about how to change the trajectory of the future, and in one way, and fight back against this takeover. We were talking specifically about Marxism, of course, with the Oklahoma public school superintendent. But one way is to train our children. So Tolkien is a great way to do that, right? To train them while entertaining them as to the threat and what it's really about and how to have those virtues. And so with saying that, I have to tell you that the associate producer on this show is actually having his daughters read The Hobbit as their summer reading. So this is a great conversation. The book is Mount Boom, The Prophecy of Tolkien Fulfilled. Fascinating conversation, Paul.
Mount Doom, The Prophecy of Tolkien Revealed. That's okay.
The Prophecy of Tolkien Revealed. Yes. Yep. It's great to see you. Get the book. Fascinating conversation and so many parallels to where we find ourselves today and perhaps the future we're headed into. Thank you so much, Paul.
Thank you for having me.
Speaking of the beast, the swamp is the beast as well. We actually will have a little more on that after the break. Huge breaking news. Mike Lindell Media Corporation, which includes LindellTV, has gone public with the stock trading symbol MLMC. Kara Castronovo from LindellTV.
This is Allison Steinberg here with LindellTV. We are currently on LindellTV.com.
The platform, which has rapidly grown to attract 7.2 million monthly viewers and 150 million annual impressions. Vocalist's subsidiary social media network supports over 70,000 accounts, and MLMC is poised for even greater success.
This is going to be big, everybody, and I'm really looking forward to it.
President Trump is headed to Texas today, where the recovery efforts for this week's flash flood continues, but not everyone's exactly on board. Allison Steinberg has the story from the White House.
Over 100 people are dead, 27 of which are children. The Guadalupe River floods ripped through Texas, leaving devastation and heartbreak behind. And Austin's elite rescue team? Well, unfortunately, they never showed up. Chief Joel Baker, Austin's fire chief, refused to send help even after the state requested it. His excuse? Well, apparently Texas owed the department $800,000 from a previous deployment. Mind you, this is the same fire chief who, from day one, prioritized diversity, equity, and inclusion over emergency preparedness.
What's important is I'm not the last African-American fire chief. That's more important than being the first. One of my goals is really to increase the diversity of the Austin Fire Department. It needs to reflect more of the community we serve. For those young African-American, young Latinos, or people in the Asian community or the LGBT community, they see more firefighters that look like them and have similar values to them.
Under Baker's watch, a volunteer chaplain was fired. His offense? Simply stating that men and women are biologically different. Not only is DEI, or DIE as I like to call it, literally killing people, now the same wokeism that's infected the country is being wielded by members of Congress, like Jasmine Crockett, who've managed to turn the Texas tragedy into a narcissistic rant about herself.
We have to continue to do our best to survive an administration that literally is against us, that is doing everything, in my mind, to hurt us and not help us. From the immigration raids to the terrible weather that we know we experience, because climate change really is real.
Sadly, it doesn't end there.
Thanks to Governor Greg Abbott and Lieutenant Dan Patrick, Those are the reasons, those two people, for cutting all of our fundings. And then, of course, your friendly MAGA Trump up there in the White House. These are the reasons why that tragedy happened that was extremely preventable.
Worse yet, this same TikToker even thought it acceptable to espouse blatant anti-white racism against the flood victims.
The Camp Mystic is a whites-only girls' Christian camp. And I think that context needs to be said in this matter.
It's fake news. These people are sick.
Absolutely despicable. This is what happens when politics replaces leadership. When diversity, equity, and inclusion matters more than disaster response. People die. And just when you thought it couldn't get any more nightmarish, well, now we have the alleged sex trafficking front, better known as the Clinton Foundation, with volunteers on the ground in Texas. I wonder if they plan on stealing 95% of the aid money like they did in Haiti. DEI hires, virtue signaling, and elite influence are not helping. In fact, I'd argue it's what's directly thwarting our ability to save lives. Our thoughts and prayers are with everyone impacted in Texas. Reporting for LindellTV, I'm Allison Steinberg.
So we're going to Texas. Some of you are coming with us. How are you? And it's a horrible thing. A horrible thing. Nobody can even believe it. Such a thing. That much water that fast. Without a dam break, you'd think a dam would have to break to have it. So it's a terrible thing. But we're going to be there with some of the great families and others, the governor, everybody is going to be there.
That was President Trump earlier today departing the White House as he headed down to the areas of Texas that were stricken by those awful floods last weekend. As we reported earlier this week, the flooding down in Texas has been absolutely catastrophic. Many are dead and missing, even more displaced and in need of help. Blessedly, the American people are rallying to come to the aid of our friends in Texas. Not only has the National Guard deployed to rescue victims and provide aid and comfort, but aid groups are rushing into the scene. It's a hodgepodge of help at lightning speed going into the disaster area. Joining us next is Vic Saban. He's the logistics coordinator for the group Buck Up Relief Mission. This is a movement that is using privately owned trucks to ferry disaster relief to the stricken people of Texas, sometimes even risking their own lives to do it. Buck Up is part of the Banners for Freedom nonprofit group that provides aid to Americans in need wherever natural disasters may strike. We tried to talk to Vince a little bit earlier in the week, but he was literally doing the Lord's work, driving. He was driving these resources to the people in need, and the signal wasn't great, and we didn't want to keep you from doing that. So we just said we would schedule for today when we knew Trump was going to be there. So thank you, Vince, for joining us today again.
Thank you for having me.
Tell me, Vince, how's the relief effort been going in the last couple of days?
Pretty busy. We've got volunteers going down there. I just arrived in North Carolina. I'm picking up a load here and taking it out to Texas. It's a load of disaster relief supplies. Everybody went to North Carolina and helped North Carolina during Helene. Well, now they're helping back. So we're moving a load. I'm actually moving a load. I'll be out there probably by Monday. We have another load coming out of New York and Illinois that is heading that way. So we're trying to put everything together.
And is this supplies, did you say, it's a little bit difficult to hear you, is this supplies that people donated in North Carolina that were left over that can now be shifted to Texas? Because I know that we talked to Sean Hendricks of Operation Shelter on Monday, and he suggested that they did have some supplies left and they were going to try to get it to Texas. Is that why you're picking up in North Carolina? This is some leftover items from the relief of Hurricane Helene?
Exactly. There's a couple of warehouses down in North Carolina that still have an overflow of supplies. And so we're going to draw from them. They're paying it forward. They had help from everybody, and now they're helping back. So I'm on my way to do that.
What is actually the scale of the devastation, Vince? How long is this going to take to get to some semblance of normal? I know in North Carolina, where you're headed now, it's still not there. It's going to be a while before North Carolina is still really there. I mean, people can go. I don't want to deter people from going in tourism. It's perfectly great to go, go to North Carolina for a vacation this summer if you haven't taken one yet. But there's still a lot of work to be done. Tell us about the stage that we're in now and how you see this progressing.
The stage right now, they're going into search and recovery. So at this point, cleanup's going to be real careful so that in case anybody is in to find the different people. And at the same time, we're working on the rural areas to get supplies into them. There's some unincorporated towns that will not get any help from government because they are unincorporated and their roads are going to need to be built and clean. We're in desperate need right now of dehumidifiers, and they run about $300 a piece, and we're trying to buy them. Any help we can get would be amazing. That's a big thing they're looking for. But the rural areas got hit just as bad as Kerrsville. But again, because of the domestic camp, a lot of the attention is going just to Kerrsville. Same thing happened in North Carolina. So everything will go in stages. So slowly everybody get things cleaned up. When they get cleaned up and things start getting rebuilt, put back together, then you got to think of the livestock. You got to think of everything that they're going to need to put their lives back together. Building materials to repair the houses. It's going to be a very long process. North Carolina is still in the rebuilding stage.
Yeah.
And the Durham area just got hit again with another flash flood. And there's some areas affected.
Right. Yeah, we've been talking about that some on the show. I was driving through that area just as the storm was hitting. So I was about a couple hours ahead of the flash flooding, and it was already dicey when I was driving through earlier in the week. Vince, what will it mean? President Trump is in Texas today. What will it mean to the victims of this flash flooding to have President Trump visit the area today?
I think it'll mean a lot. The support, to know that the government's behind him and the president's behind him. The last administration, North Carolina wiped out, and they didn't get the support that they needed. And it made things very difficult for a lot of people to get back on their feet. I think President Trump going into the area and meeting with the families and the people that are running things to make things happen will mean a lot to them. It will up their spirits to know that their government is actually helping for a change. And they also have the help of all the people. We're a grassroots organization, and I network with many grassroots organizations. We're not the Red Cross or Samaritan's Purse or any of those big companies. So we rely all on public donations in order to make it happen. But President Trump going there is going to mean a lot to those people, just like it did when he went to North Carolina. It gave them a good uplifting boost.
It meant so much to them. I was talking to so many people on the ground, and many of them have voted for Joe Biden, and they were just so hurt at how the previous administration had treated them, and they were so honored and uplifted when President Trump came, and it does. I mean, it helps boost morale. It helps give a feeling of hope in a moment that there's just so much devastation. Speaking of the devastation, I know a lot of my audience is going to wonder how they can help out your mission, Buck Up Relief Mission. Where do they go to help, Vince?
You can go to Buck Up Relief Mission, Give, Send, Go to donate there. We really need the money to get these dehumidifiers there, and along with other supplies. Going there helps us fuel the trucks, so the trucks can move and bring the things in. You can also go to buckupreliefmission.net. If you want to volunteer and go down and help these people out, contact us and we can put you in connection with people that need help. They're going to need help distributing the goods, helping with cleanup, so volunteers are needed. So you can go there and we'll put you in touch with the right people. There's people down there that have opened up their B&Bs, their Airbnbs, and their homes to the volunteers, so people have a place to stay when they come down. So, like I said, you can reach us through those two.
Thank you so much, Vince, for taking the time out of literally your drive to get supplies and take it back to Texas to share that with our audience and share with them how they can help. We'll keep in touch with you, Vince. Thanks so much. Safe travels. Be safe on the road.
You have a great day, everybody. Thank you for any help you can give us.
Well, a lot of people this week, particularly Trump supporters, got excited when it was leaked that there is an FBI investigation into James Comey, John Brennan, and James Clapper. People hoping that there will finally be some accountability. But even President Trump doesn't sound so sure that there will be. Kara Castronova has more on that from the White House.
After years of allegedly lying, spying, and stonewalling, justice may be finally catching up to some alleged coup plotters, namely former FBI Director James Comey and former CIA Director John Brennan. The DOJ is investigating these top spies of the deep state, and if they use their intelligence positions to illegally target President Trump and interfere in the 2016 election. John Brennan crawled out of hiding yesterday and played stupid to the mainstream media, saying he was confused as to what he was being investigated for.
I testified in front of many, many congressional committees in the House and the Senate over the years, and I continue to explain exactly what we did during this process, why we tried to make sure we stayed true to our intelligence responsibilities and that we were not going to do anything at all to try to interfere in that election. And again, it was a challenging time, but also one I think that the people who actually worked this, both in terms of trying to collect intelligence prior to the election, and then the ones who put together the intelligence community assessment, they really, I think, showed the best of what the intelligence community and what CIA is made of. So again, I am clueless about what it is exactly that they may be investigating me for.
Not a very intelligent answer for a former intelligence officer, but just in case John Brennan is watching, here is the late Lou Dobbs to remind you of your alleged crime.
National security expert Fred Fleitz recently reporting that former CIA Director John Brennan worked to suppress intelligence that Russia was in fact trying to help Hillary Clinton win the 2016 presidential election. Brennan was aware Russia preferred Clinton over Trump because she was a known figure having served as Secretary of State. Instead of reporting this to the House Intelligence Committee, Brennan provided intelligence that omitted the fact that Russia was working to help Hillary Clinton win, and instead claiming that they wanted Trump.
In the meantime, the mainstream media continues to shill for the deep state. Here is a vomit-worthy example from yesterday.
In the Trump administration's efforts to politicize intelligence and U.S. national security. It is also the culmination of a long and mostly fruitless 9-year campaign by Team Trump to rewrite history when it comes to Russia and the 2016 presidential election.
After the Biden administration completely politicized government agencies against President Trump, his allies, and his supporters, it's a wonder how these people can say these things with a straight face. Here's President Trump to wrap things up.
Well, I know nothing about it other than what I read today, but I will tell you, I think they're very dishonest people. I think they're crooked as hell, and maybe they have to pay a price for that. I believe they are truly bad people and dishonest people. So whatever happens, happens.
Reporting for LindellTV at the White House, I'm Kara Castronova.
Well, I know that it was good to see the great Lou Dobbs, the great late Lou Dobbs of LindellTV in Kara's story. I know Lou Dobbs is someone who would be looking down from heaven and happy to see some accountability for the swamp creatures, Comey, Brennan, and Clapper. Well, that's it for this hour of The Absolute Truth. I want to flag for you this weekend that LindellTV is remembering Butler, J13, the assassination attempt on then candidate, now president, 47, Donald Trump. Vanessa Broussard has put together a half-hour special that will premiere at noon Eastern time tomorrow, Saturday, noon Eastern. Trump targeted. Butler 1 year later. A nation watched. A leader so strong with Vanessa Broussard. That's it for me. Up next is DC Dispatch with Christy Lee. We will have a new schedule next week, so watch social media to be sure you know the times for the shows next week. That's it for me. I'll see you a little bit later today.